An employee of a private collection of antique books finds a diary from the 1400s that details the dreams she has had since her childhood. When she discovers that she has been cursed, her world falls apart. What would you do if you discovered an old diary with all your dreams written down in it? It was a sunny day, and Seo Yeon, a young librarian, was walking into the Hanul Cultural Library in Busan. The poor woman was a little tired because she knew it would be another long day of work. The sun was shining brightly, illuminating the facade of the place, but the brightness was not reflected in the young woman's eyes, who was fighting against fatigue.
"Welcome, Seo Yeon. How are you?"
said Nari, a friend and also an employee of the librarian.
I had a full night.
She commented, rubbing her eyes and yawning. Nari asked if it was because of another dream she had. Her friend knew about the many nightmares and vivid dreams she had that always stole her peace, and Seo Yeon agreed with a nod.
Yeah, this time I dreamed that they killed my husband.
She said, still moving her eyes, trying to shake off the sleep. The employee laughed, making fun of her.
"If only you had a husband, right, friend? Ha 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 ha."
She joked, remembering the fact that Seo Yeon was already 30 years old and had no boyfriend. Seo Yeon glared at Nari and snorted.
Ugh.
She then said that she would organize the pile of books that she had been supposed to organize the day before. It was the antiques section. The girl stood up and started walking towards the section, while Nari continued to tease her.
"Be careful not to fall in love with one of the characters in the books. Ha ha ha."
Seo Yeon always said that the man she was looking for did not exist in this life, but only in books. A romantic, affectionate, honorable man who was hard to find these days. That's why she avoided relationships, preferring the company of books. The young woman had had several disappointments in love in the past, which contributed to her plan to be alone. Each relationship seemed to start with promises of eternal love, but quickly fell apart amid lies and betrayal. She remembered how her last boyfriend had promised her the world, only to leave her abandoned and broken. It was hard for her to trust anyone again. Every time she opened her heart, she ended up getting hurt. Seo Yeon knew that her heart desired for the perfect romance from the books, the old ones where the man would fight for her, protect her, but reality always seemed so far from that ideal. But she would continue her day as normal. As she walked through the library corridors, Seo Yeon tried to shake off the unsettling feeling that last night's dream had left her with. The images were still fresh in her mind, as if it had happened only a few minutes ago. The pain and helplessness she felt when she saw her fictional husband being injured and killed were almost palpable.
Why always these strange dreams?
She muttered to herself, remembering other nights disturbed by equally vivid nightmares. When she arrived at the antiques section, Seo Yeon was greeted by the distinctive smell of old paper and leather, and she began to organize. The girl was cleaning the old books in the library's antiques section. The air permeated with the smell of dust accumulated over the years. With each movement, small particles floated around, sparkling in the sunlight that came through the high windows. She coughed as she cleaned, feeling the irritation in her throat and her nose starting to itch.
Here I am dying of rhinitis, and she is there making fun of me. Ugh.
Seo Yeon grumbled. The woman thought it was unfair that she was doing the work that should have been Nari's. Although they were friends and co-workers, Nari had several perks because she was staying with one of the library owner's sons. That library was a private collection of a very wealthy philanthropist, Hanul Kim, which he opened to the public. The man had the rarest books, especially if they were only one edition. Seo Yeon's irritation with the dust and the situation grew, but the dream from last night bothered her even more. The poor young woman always had unexplained dreams and nightmares that kept her up at night, but that one had been especially heavy. She and her supposed husband wore medieval Asian clothes, as if they were living in ancient times. Knights appeared, destroying the entire village where she lived, and ended up killing her husband, a man who appeared in other dreams as well. Seo Yeon always woke up scared because those were very real, and for a moment, she really loved him. It was strange to wake up and realize that the man didn't exist. However, as she cleaned the old books, one of them caught her attention. Still lost in her reverie, the young woman noticed one with a dark cloth cover, well worn by time, looking like it had been buried and dug up several times.
This crazy old man keeps picking up these weird books. I don't know why.
Seo Yeon commented, opening the book. She saw that it wasn't exactly a printed book, but rather a notebook of handwritten notes, like a diary, with very old dates, like 1424. Intrigued, she began to read a little.
What does a book from 1400 tell? How was there writing at that time?
Seo-yeon thought, curious. However, she could never imagine what she would find there. As she read the pages, the woman began to feel a shiver because something was strangely familiar. The words danced in her mind, and images began to form. It was as if she saw the scenes that were described in the book perfectly. Each line seemed to awaken an old and deep memory, which she did not know she had. Seo-yeon thought it was very strange because everything she was reading seemed to her that she could clearly see real images lived from the days of a woman named Hwa, the person who was writing the reports, who was living love with a man. The pages described how happy her days were, for Hwa had married her best childhood friend, Seok.
What?
Seo-yeon was perplexed because those descriptions of the place where they lived, of everything they lived, were exactly like her dream of the previous night.
My dream? No. Wait.
She could not understand. And to make matters worse, Hwa's diary reported exactly what Seo-yeon had seen, every little detail. The pages of the diary were old and yellow, but the words were still clear. Hwa described a night of terror when knights invaded her village. Seo-yeon could almost hear the sound of horse hooves and the cry of villagers. Hwa told of the despair of seeing her beloved Seok attacked as he tried to protect the village. She described how she ran to him, only to be pushed away by the riders. Seo-yeon could feel the fear and despair in the words of that woman. The descriptions were so vivid that she could almost smell the blood and smoke of the fire that was destroying the village.
Did they kill him? Did they kill Seok?
The young woman murmured, perplexed, feeling an unexplained connection with that woman of bygone times. Hwa's last words in the diary were of determination and sadness. She promised to meet her beloved again, even if it took the rest of eternity. Soon after, the date changed, and the story of another woman, Ju, began to be written, and the date was 1624. The handwriting was different, but the intensity of emotions remained the same. Ju told things that Seo-yeon could not believe, more and more of the nightmares and daydreams she had herself. In the diary, Ju looked for someone, and whenever she thought she had found him, she was disappointed because it was not him. Then she concluded,
He is not in this life.
Ju cried, feeling alone. And Seo-yeon remembered what several of the women she dreamed with said,
He's not in this life. What's going on?
The lady wondered, now more scared than ever. Everything that was reported came into her mind with a frightening clarity. She could see Ju walking through empty fields, always looking, always waiting. The tears of the peasant seemed to be her own tears. The pain of Ju was her own pain. The diary then changed again. Another woman, Sun, this time in 1824. The stories followed a pattern, always every 200 years. Sun's writing was detailed, and every word seemed to pulse with intense emotions. Seo-yeon read about lost love, about the incessant searches, about the promise to find the one who had been taken from her. Seo-yeon was paralyzed. Every story, every woman seemed to be a part of herself. The dates, the names, the emotions, everything was inexplicably familiar. It was as if those women were living fragments of her own life, each seeking something that could never be found.
This can't be real.
She murmured to herself with her heart beating hard in her chest. The air around her seemed heavier. The walls of the library seemed to close on her. The young woman felt an urgency to understand, to find out what that meant. But at the same time, she felt a deep fear, a fear that the truth might be more frightening than any nightmare. And once again, Seo-yeon felt everything that all those women wrote, as if she herself could feel the pain and desire to find that person who until then didn't know who it was. All the women who wrote there looked for apparently the same person and always said,
He is not in this life.
Seo-yeon fell to her knees, still trying to process what she was reading and seeing. That diary reported practically all the dreams she had had since childhood, dreams and nightmares that she considered inexplicable, without any sense. The connection between the stories and them was undeniable and disturbing. The poor woman saw the tears starting to form in her eyes, and her mind spinning with the revelation that threatened to come.
How is that possible?
Murmured to herself. She couldn't deny. The pain and anguish described by Hua, Ju, and Sun slowly began to make sense, like pieces of a puzzle that finally fit together. Seo Yan ran out of the library telling Nari that she was sick and went to her house, taking the book with her. There, she spent the day reading, increasingly bewildered by knowing everything that was happening in the reports, or knew it would happen, because she had already dreamed.
Someone wrote all my dreams.
She whispered, eyes wide open of unbelief, although she was denying the possible reality. Each turned page was a deeper dive into a past she didn't know she had. But she did. The feeling of déjà vu came overwhelming with each description, and every emotion resonated inside her. But that poor woman would soon accept something she could never have imagined. On the last page of the diary, dated 1824, Sun wrote,
If you are reading this, my dear, you must find him. Only then will we break this curse. Only then can we live and die with him by our side.
Seo Yan was already with tears running through her eyes, as more and more the understanding of everything came into her mind. The understanding that she and all those women had something in common, the reason why she dreamed of what was written, why she never managed to have a serious relationship, why she never really could fall in love with any man. Sun's final words hit her hard.
He is not in this life, and I sincerely hope that he is in yours. I know that when you see him, it will be love at first sight. You have until the end of 2024 to find him. I have to find Seok.
Seo Yan spoke with her hand on her face, now understanding everything. The truth was clear and painful. It was never just dreams, but memories. Seo Yan was the reincarnation of all those women. To make it clear, what happened was that in the year 1424, when Hua was 30 years old, there was the tragedy that took her beloved out of her life. The knights killed Seok in the destruction of the village. In her fury and anguish, Hua promised before giving her last breath, as the knights decimated the rest of her house days later, that she would return in another life, find her beloved, and live the life they were denied. The pain of that wife was overwhelming. Hua had dreams and plans with her husband, and everything was brutally torn from her. She remembered the happy moments, the smiles, the promises made under the full moon. And now, all that remained was darkness and the promise of revenge and eternal love. Hua's heart hurt intensely, not only for the loss of Seok, but for the future that was cruelly stolen from them. At that moment, Hua, in her pain, ended up cursing herself. So every 200 years she reincarnated and kept her mission of finding her beloved. But never found him, perhaps because he had reincarnated in another time, and she was frustrated saying that he was not in this life. But there was a crucial detail. Because she died at 30, all her versions had to find Seok before turning 31. Otherwise, they would die for some tragic reason. Ju, for example, died of smallpox in 1624. Sun, in 1824, was run over by an unruly horse pulling a wagon. It was imperative that Seo Yan manage to find Seok before the time to break the curse, get to live, and finally die with him. The urgency of the situation made her heart beat faster, and the weight of responsibility was almost unbearable. In all lives, women looked for the diary they had buried at the foot of the tree where one day was their home. There, they wrote about their searches and left advice for their next reincarnation. It was a form of guidance, a hope that the next version of them would achieve what all previous ones failed to accomplish. But something unexpected happened. The philanthropist, Hanul Kim, while digging part of the site to build his library, ended up finding the diary and was amazed, since it was a unique addition. So, once again, the diary found its owner, Seo Yan, who somehow always felt at home in that place, although she never knew why. This explained why she started working there in the library, attracted by an invisible and inexplicable force, since one day it was her home. The revelation was overwhelming. The weight of past lives, Unfulfilled promises and relentless pursuit now lay on her shoulders. Every woman before her, Hua, Ju, Sun, had all sought out Seok, and now it was her turn. The girl was the fourth reincarnation and felt the urgency of the mission, the need to break the curse that kept her trapped in a cycle of endless reincarnations. Seo Yan rose slowly, still holding the diary tightly as determination grew inside her. She couldn't fail, not this time. She had until the end of 2024 to find Seok and finally bring peace to all those souls, including her own. It was her hope to finally find Seok and live the love that had been denied them for centuries. She wiped the tears, took a deep breath, and began to plan how she would find her husband. The journey would be difficult, yet now she was ready to face any obstacle. From there, and now knowing who she really was, Seo Yan began to search and research all the evidence about Seok and what possible men he could have been in other lives. She dived headlong into books, archives, and historical records, trying to trace any clues that could lead her to her beloved. However, almost a year has passed and her searches did not yield results. Seo Yan was feeling bad about failing and already thought of leaving the advice for her next version, saying,
My beloved is not in this life.
Frustration and despair were becoming unbearable as she saw the time running by her fingers, knowing that her 31st birthday was approaching and consequently her death. Until one day, when she was closing the library in the afternoon, a little irritated and discouraged, fate made her run into a handsome man who was watching the facade of the establishment.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
Seo Yan said, looking directly into his eyes. And it was then that she saw that there was something familiar in that look, a glow that aroused a sense of déjà vu. The man smiled and said that it was all right, and then, surprisingly, asked if she would like to have coffee with him.
I'm sorry if it will seem strange, but I saw you one day and, well...
He explained that he saw her and realized she worked in the library, a place that strangely always caught his attention. Seo Yan, with a beating heart, introduced herself and the man too.
Pleasure. My name is Seok.
At that moment, the young woman knew that the universe in its wonder had brought the two together again. She had found him. She had finally found her beloved husband. Now they could know each other better and live the life they have always dreamed of. The connection between them was instantaneous and deep, as if all past lives were culminating in that encounter. As the months went by, the relationship between them blossomed and Seo Yan felt complete for the first time, as if she had finally found the piece that was missing in her life. The diary was no longer necessary because the mission had been accomplished. She knew that now she could live a full and happy life next to Seok. The years passed, and the couple lived each day with intensity, knowing that they had broken the curse and could live and die together in peace. And so it was. She lived a happy life, full of love and achievements, until the universe decided to take their souls where they would finally rest together and enjoy eternity, free from the ties of time and fate. And if you like this story, surely the next video that is appearing on your screen will excite you too. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, leave your like, and activate the notifications bell so you don't miss any of our upcoming videos. A big kiss, and until a next exciting story.